Hello, everyone. We are glad and pleased to be with you again in another weekly event organized by Megamind Plus Academy for Education, Training, and Consultancy. Uh, as you may know, the Academy works in three different sectors of education, training, and consultancy, and the issues and the topics related to any of these three sectors and three fields. As just a simple introduction, Megamind Plus Academy is a non-for-profit um, entity. All the works are voluntary works that we do actually with the staff, especially the staff of this of organizing these weekly webinars. So far, we have organized 38 different webinars. This is the 39th, in which thousands of viewers, thousands of participants have taken benefit from the contents, and we have been also a kind of bridge between researchers from different disciplines and different areas and different institutions also. We are aware that people who have been in the webinars now are working together, and this is a very happening, uh, glad tiding for us, as they say. And that was one of our indirect aims in order to be a bridge and to create the network among researchers in different universities, different institutions, and not only universities alone, but universities and researchers from the Ministry of Education and even from the outside of these institutions also. So we are lucky and we are honored to be able to kind of act like a hub where all people can join and they can take benefit from the webinars, and later on they benefit from the networks that they have created. And we have much more to offer. We have some long-term plans also. Some of them might have been known to you so far, but some of them are still waiting for the right time and for the right people to be involved in order to see light in the near future, inshallah. So we are very grateful for the staff of the Megamind Plus Academy for all their hard work, their endeavors, and their effort actually throughout the years in organizing, in making arrangements for these webinars. And we are approaching the new year, so we pass our congratulations to those who celebrate today, to our friends who celebrate the 25th of December as the birth of Christ and Jesus. The Also, the new year is approaching, so we are also planning our sessions, maybe with some little bit change, and we have some panels in plan for after the new year, maybe. Some interesting topics are waiting, and we have also already talked to many good people and experts in the field in order to be with us, inshallah, after the new year. As you know, our webinars are all recorded. Later on, you are going to have a link. Even if you missed some part, you can later on watch it. And for those who could not be with us for any reason, the link would be also posted on YouTube and in the groups also. And it is going live. It's on Facebook page of the Academy. As you know, the questions would be taken in three different ways. Could be on a Facebook comment or on a chat box here. In the chat box, you write your questions. Later on, we direct it to the speaker of today, or you can raise your hand and then we will give you a chance to address your questions directly to the speaker of today. As you may know from the links and from the registration form, the topic of today is introducing forensic linguistics to Kurdish researchers. We don't mean only Kurdish researchers because it is in English, so it could be to any researcher from any nationality actually, but we actually, the title was like that and we didn't want to make any changes, so we kept it as it is. And for this topic actually, which is kind of new, at least in the region, if not in the whole country, the best person to talk about it, we thought, would be Dr. Jamal Anwar Taha, right? I said the name correct. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Jamal very briefly, actually. He has a very rich CV. Just because of time, maybe I'm going to read some of his academic achievements. He got his PhD in applied linguistics and specifically in corpus linguistics in 2019. And his dissertation focus was on Kurdish EFL learners' problems of modification in their written English using learners' corpora as part of corpus linguistics. In 2014, he got his Fulbright certificate in applied linguistics. Again, it was organized by the prestigious Fellowship of Fulbright program at Salem State University and Northeastern University, Salem, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. In 2011, he got his master's degree in English linguistics, theoretical linguistics in particular. In 2008, he got his bachelor's degree in English language and literature at Koya University. In 2000, he got diploma degree in Central Teachers Institute of Erbil English Department. And he considers meeting Noam Chomsky for 1 hour in MIT Institute, where he discussed a lot of topics, including linguistic theories with the well-known figure Noam Chomsky as his achievements. And I'm aware that he has conducted also several academic research. He's working at Suleimania University currently, and he's very active on social media, actually, and he posts many good resources for researchers, especially books in different fields of linguistics. I'm sure I have personally benefited from the posts from the links that he shares, actually, and I hope that he goes on. And today we are very eager to listen to Dr. Jamal Anwar Taha talking about forensic linguistics. Dr. Jamal, are you ready?
Yes.
Good. So you are the co-host now. And it is 9:09 with me. Let's say 9:10. So you have around 45 minutes to talk, and then we leave the rest for questions and answers and comments. Okay, Doctor?
Thank you so much, dear Professor. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm very glad to be among these scholars, especially my former teacher, Dr. Imdad Muhammad, in which he taught me in MA program, and I am very privileged to be his student. And I still consider myself as his student, since he taught us phonology when we were in master's program at Korea University back in 2010 and 2009 and 2010. First of all, before Before starting my presentation today, I would like to pay tribute to former Professor Salam Naukhosh. He was one of the great professors from Salahuddin University and the colleague of most of us. And inshallah, he will be in the highest place in paradise, in Firdaus, as we say, inshallah. Dr. Imdad, shall I share my presentation, or you will share it?
No, you share it, Doctor, because I wanted to have the full control over the transition of the slides.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So let me share it. One participant can share it only. It was said that I don't know what's multiple participants. So sorry. Yes. So right now, can you see my presentation, please?
Yes, we can see it, Doctor. But if you full screen, maybe it's better.
Yes, definitely. Let me just take this away from. Yes, this is it. So welcome all of us, all of you join us in this webinar. Introducing forensic linguistics to Kurdish researchers. First of all, this is the outline of my presentation today. Today, I will define forensic linguistics, then the history of forensic linguistics and the areas in which forensic linguistics is dealing with, and then the applications of forensic linguistics and what are the forensic texts in which they are used to be analyzed, and these are the ways we collect data, or they collect data and then analyze forensic linguistic data. And then I will recommend some topics for research, those who are interested in forensic linguistics. And then we will talk about an organization which is formed mainly to tackle forensic linguistics, and then I will talk about the summary and the references. So first, on this webinar, I have to start my presentation with this question: how can we use language to solve and prevent crime? Please write down your thoughts at the end of this session. Throughout this session, you can write down your thoughts and your comments, and to answer this question, at the end, we will discuss it. So first of all, we define forensic linguistics as the application of linguistics to legal issues. So linguistic theories may be applied to the analysis of the language samples in an inquiry. Thus, the forensic linguist may quote observations from research undertaken in the field, in fields as diverse as language and memory studies, conversation analysis, discourse analysis, theory of grammar, cognitive linguistics, speech act theory, so on. So forensic linguistics is trying to gather together all of these tools so as to analyze language for legal issues. So forensic linguistics and forensic phonetics are used in criminal investigations nowadays in many, many countries, but the leading countries who are using forensic linguistics and forensic phonetics are the United States of America, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada. They have departments in forensic linguistics, which is one of the vital parts of applied linguistics studies. But unfortunately, even we do not study in our MA program, though this year I have had the privilege to teach in master's program in College of Basic Education. I familiarized my students with forensic linguistics, and I did some presentations, and I made my students to do some presentations about forensic linguistics. Forensic linguistics and forensic and phonetic evidence are routinely used in criminal courts across the United States and many other Anglo countries. McNamon in 2002 argues that forensic linguistics is the scientific study of language as applied to forensic purposes and contexts. So forensic linguistics can usefully be divided into three distinct areas. So the areas of forensic linguistics are these: The first one, the language of written legal texts. Here, linguists are interested in both the arcane vocabulary, complicated grammar, and frequent punctuations, which typifies many legal texts, and the consequent problems by lay readers who have with these texts. So the spoken language of legal process here, the linguist, so the second area is focusing on the spoken language. So the first area focuses on written legal texts. The second area focuses on spoken language of the legal process. Here, linguists examine the nature of police interviews with suspects, interrogations, cross-examinations, the specialized rules which govern interactions in courts of law, the problems creates for vulnerable witnesses, and the difficulties experienced by those who do not speak the language of the court. So the third area in which forensic linguistics is dealing with is the linguist as an expert witness. Sometimes they will summon an expert, they will summon forensic linguists, in which in the coming slides I will try to show you a video about this. They will summon a forensic linguist, and then they will testify in the court of law against a potential culprit or a potential suspect. So here linguists express opinion on the confusability of rival trademarks, on the authorship documents, on the meaning of the words, expressions, and so on. So on the place of origin of asylum seekers, even asylum seekers in the United Kingdom and in the United States are being examined by forensic linguists. So the application of linguistic research. So forensic linguistics try to apply the linguistic research and the methods to the law, including the evaluation of written evidence and the language of legalization or legislation. So forensic linguistics is the application of linguistic knowledge to legal matters, which cover all the areas of language or the law interaction, or here the language of the law, the language and law intersects or intertwined. So it tries to answer the following questions, especially in a court of law. Suppose there is a defendant in the court saying something, or suppose there is an evidence or there is a word. Sometimes they say that a word can turn against you. So that's why the words that are being said by a potential suspect or potential witness are being examined thoroughly in the court of law. And they are trying to answer the following: who said this? Suppose there is something, and then who wrote it? Or who wrote it, or who said this? Why did he or she say this? So all of these questions are being answered by forensic linguists and to be testified to the jury or the judge. So forensic linguistics linguists help to gain more information from language evidence for non-linguists, such as investigators, judges, juries, lawyers, counterterrorism experts, counterterrorism groups, so on and so forth. So forensic linguists will be summoned to testify or argue against, or argue for or against something that is being summoned by investigators, judges, and these law personnel. So the importance of forensic linguistics can be seen in how conversations are constructed and the kind of moves speakers or writers make in a conversation or written text, and the words and their meaning are very relevant, or they can vary depending on the context. So these are forensic linguists. They try to focus on, and these are the important points that forensic linguistics can be seen. So the history, if we go back to the history of the forensic linguistics, it was actually appeared in Jan Zwartevik's first letter, the Evans Statement, a case of forensic linguistics, in 1968. He was the first person, and he's thankfully he's alive right now, and he's one of the leading scholars in linguistics, Jan Svartevik. So in 1968, he demonstrated that incriminating part of a set of 4 linked statements purportedly dedicated to police officers by Timothy Evans, which incriminated him in the murder of his wife and baby daughter, in which had grammatical style measurably different from that of uncontested parts of I don't know, something is wrong with, okay, sorry. So the bar appears in the side of my presentation. So the style of Timothy Evans, which is different, and then it was later discovered after Evans had been convicted and executed for the double murder that both victims had actually been murdered by Evans' landlord, John Christie. Svartevik's analysis marked the birth of a new discipline called forensic linguistics. So as it was said in the previous slide, Svartevik coined the term in 1968 in his famous paper, The Case of Evans. So it started mainly in the UK, United States, and Australia. Forensic linguistics is so new that the history is still being written. According to many scholars, they say that it is still, the history is still being written, So, sorry, something is, okay. So the relation between language and law here is being talked about and is being mentioned in forensic linguistics, which is law is as inseparable from language, and lawyers sometimes conflict with linguists in some cases, because lawyers and linguists, they have different aims. Linguists try to analyze language, lawyers sometimes to defend their clients, so on and so forth. So lawyers, they want to persuade the jury, while linguists try to present an opinion and explain that opinion. So forensic linguistics is applied in the following different areas: law language, judicial procedures, judicial procedure language, linguistic evidence in judicial procedure. So the application of forensic linguistics, we can say that these are the types of cases in which forensic linguists often deal with: authorship identification, plagiarism, word meaning, trademark issues, criminal activities like bribery, extortion, solicitation, kidnapping, contract disputes, insurance fraud, jury instruction, non-English language cases, perjury, asylum seeking, copyright infringement, plain language, legal language. All of these cases are at hand by forensic linguists. So the application of forensic linguistics, they apply the analysis of meaning of words in contracts, statutes, and laws. So they search for ordinary meaning sometimes they search for potential meaning of the contracts or the legal documents. The analysis of meaning of non-language symbols like cross burnings and these kind of non-symbols. Speech act analysis of language claimed to constitute confessions, threats, and conspiracy. So analysis of covert tape recordings. Sometimes they try to analyze these covert tape recordings. What are the things that are being said inside these tapes, and then lip reading, interpretation of videotapes, secret language and code analysis, like slang and jargon used by potential suspects, sometimes authorship problems, in which there are many cases. There are some cases in which they are still unsolved for today, in which today I will be showing you a 5-minute documentary about one of the leading authorship problems. Up until now, we don't know the author of a particular text. So establishment of possible authors of documents through grammatical and stylistic analysis, for example, could be a person X who have authored document Y. So the analysis of presupposition in questions by investigators and attorneys, schema analysis in linguistic processing, language and memory, readability and information presentation of instructions and warnings, sociolinguistic analysis of code switching, forms of address, convergence and divergence. So, for example, examples of application objectively establish the meaning of words in a contract, statutes, or decisions. For example, the Spanish surname, the complete loss of sight of both eyes, consent in some cases. Since we don't have these things in Iraqi Kurdistan, because we don't have the legal avenues to examine these documents, I hope the legal experts and those who are in control, those who are in power, they take into consideration forensic linguistics that's being used in many disputes along in the English-speaking countries like United States and the UK. So specifically compare language samples to indicate whether a certain person could have authored a particular ransom note threatening later confession. So sometimes applying a well-established speech act standards to taped conversations to determine whether, say, a threat or offer of bribe actually occurred. So what are the branches of forensic linguistics? We have legal process, we have legal language, and we have linguistic evidence. So the legal process, in which there is an investigation stage, investigation phase, and then the trial phase, and then the appeal phase. So here, analyze the grammatical or the gathered information during the legal process. So within that legal process, a linguist or a legal expert or forensic linguist will be summoned to testify against or for something. That's the legal in the legal proceedings. So the language expert will be summoned. So during the legal process, language is used as an instrument. For example, suppose they will bring a defendant to the court of law. They will provoke that defendant. Were you provoked through that statement? What was in your mind then? So there are some of the things, some of the clues. Even the body language is being analyzed by the forensic linguist, the style of talking, the way that is he acts, the language that is, or the kinds of gestures that he make or she makes in the trial. They will be used against him or for him in the court of law. So legal language means a language that's used by the persons connected to the legal profession, like lawyers, jurists, and legislative draftsmen, and their professional capabilities. So law, being a technical subject, speaks through its own register. So those who are forensic linguists, they should be, and they must be fully aware of the register or the legal register that's being used in the court of law. So there are two types of legal language. The first one is the language of legal texts, which is lawmaking instruments, and the language of legal practice and legal science. So Goddard has discussed the following kinds of legal writings. So academic legal writing, as in law journals, judicial legal writing, as in court judgments, and legislative legal writing, as in the law, regulations, contracts, and treaties. So legal language or the legal English takes into fold its use in the context of legal documents, as we said, license, contracts, court pleadings, summons, briefs or briefings, judgments, the laws, the acts of parliament, subordinate legislations, case reports, legal correspondence. All of these are considered to be the legal language. So Kalka, a veteran law legal expert, identifies 5 types of situational contexts where legal discourse or communication is evident. So the lawyer to the judge and the counsel, the judge to the counsel, and vice versa, that of judgments, briefs, courtrooms, exchange, and then consultation among judges, counsels, men of law, juries. This may be attempt as informal as it takes place outside the court of law, in the chambers of judges and advocates, office of lawyers. So sometimes judge speaking to the jury, counsel to the client, and vice versa. Sometimes between ordinary citizens, this may include contracts, wills, agreements. So the linguistic evidence focus on the study of written and spoken material, which is admitted as a proof. Usually, this linguistic evidence based on the analysis of author identification, forensic stylistics, discourse analysis, linguistic dialectology, forensic phonetics. So which include graphology, the writings, the phonetic morphology. So what are the wordings, what are the suffixes, prefixes that are being used, and what are the contractions that are being used, the syntax and the semantics and the discourse. So you see all of the legal aspects, all the linguistic means are used to analyze a piece of evidence. So how do we collect data for forensic linguistics? That's a big question in the mind of all of the researchers with us today. So these are the most frequent forensic text types. Emergency calls. Here we don't have that emergency calls, but nowadays we have some kind of emergency calls. But in those countries who systematize everything, of course they have these kind of things. So the emergency calls, they analyze the emergency calls, they analyze the ransom demands and other threat texts, the suicide letters, final death row statements before being executed or before being lethal, having lethal injection or before being killed, the confessions and denials by public persons, and terrorism cases in which after the 9/11 we have these terrorism cases as well. So the emergency calls like what? For example, operator skills. These are some skills that are used. The intonation, they try to take into consideration the intonation, the voice speech. They try to talk about the timely response. They try to talk about the cooperation between the witness and the legal authorities, and then the cooperation between the personnel involved in that kind of things. So how to discover a hoax call, like hesitations, like incomplete or short answers, like avoid giving information, sometimes not giving specific information. We see that this is a kind of hoax call in emergency call. So ransom demands and other threat texts. So more common characteristics to cause usually ransom texts or ransom threats, ransom demands, to cause fear to the receptor to get what the writer wants, sometimes anonymous. So some examples of threat texts like hate mails, like hackings nowadays, like potential hackings or potential emails. They try to blackmail you to give them money, and then mobile phone texts, terrorism, and kidnapping. So a forensic linguist, I want to draw your attention to watch this video. Forensic linguist analyze a text message and potentially solve a crime case.
Martin Bayfield.
I think I have a problem with.
Martin Bayfield.
Well, in the aftermath of serious crime, the police use a whole array of techniques to track down the perpetrators. And tonight, Martin's been to investigate one of the latest forensic techniques.
This street in Stoke-on-Trent was the scene of a house fire that, back in 2009, shocked the local community. When the fire brigade arrived, they discovered a father and two children had escaped the blaze. but tragically, the mother had died. Through tears, Christopher Burks explained to firefighters how he had saved his two children and battled the flames to try and rescue his wife Amanda from the loft bedroom. But it was to no avail. She had died in the blaze.
دكتور جمال فيديو كان نشان هذا بس دنگك هيا
Let me fix the problem. Sorry.
اگر چێشە هەبوو لینکەکەی دانێ لە چات بۆکسی چێشە نییە ئەگەر زانی چێشەکە بەردەوام بوو.
Martin Bayfield.
Well, in the aftermath of serious crime, the police use a whole array of techniques to track down the perpetrators.
Okay, I will share it.
Okay, share it again, please.
Yes.
Because we cannot see the video, actually. We just hear the sound of it.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, now we can see.
And tonight, Martin's been to investigate one of the latest forensic techniques.
This street in Stoke-on-Trent was the scene of a house fire that back in 2009 shocked the local community. When the fire brigade arrived, they discovered a father and two children had escaped the blaze. But tragically, the mother had died. Through tears, Christopher Burks explained to firefighters how he had saved his two children and battled the flames to try and rescue his wife Amanda from the loft bedroom. But it was to no avail. She had died in the blaze. But, like the recent high-profile Philpott case in which 6 children died, when the emergency services started to investigate the fire, certain things just didn't stack up.
The fire brigade went into the premises and they realised that Amanda's body wasn't in a natural position. It looked as if she'd been incapacitated in some way, and also the fire alarms had been tampered with.
Forensic tests showed that the blaze had not killed Amanda. She was already dead when the fire began. This left police with a number of questions. How and when had she died? Throughout the day, more than a dozen text messages were sent from Amanda's phone. The last one at 7:48 in the evening. But when family members read the messages, they thought something was wrong. The text didn't look like they'd been written by Amanda. But could they give a clue as to what had happened that day? Detectives began to question Christopher's story. Could it be possible that he had murdered his own wife and then used her mobile phone to send text messages to cover his tracks? Police needed expert help. So they came to linguistics specialist Dr. Tim Grant. When he's not teaching, he works with police forces from all over the UK. He analyses the use of language in written documents, everything from emails to letters, to prove who wrote them. Staffordshire Police asked Tim to look at the texts sent from Amanda's phone. Could he establish who had written them?
First thing you need to do is establish what is consistent in each of their texting style. And to do that, you have to have a large collection of text messages for each of them. For Amanda Burks, her phone was destroyed in the fire. And so the police had to collect those messages from friends and work colleagues and family members. And they collected a set of 200 text messages. And we had a similar set of 200 text messages from Christopher Burks.
Tim got to work scrutinising the texting styles used by Christopher and Amanda. So, Tim, we've got some examples of the disputed text messages that Christopher claims Amanda sent. What is it about them that leaps out to you?
We've got this first message, which was sent at about 1 o'clock. This message says, "Not sure yet, I'm just talking with Chris." And we have the spelling of just, which is JST, which is typical of Christopher Burks' style. We have the spelling of with as WIV, with, and that's a Christopher Burks style feature that only he uses and Amanda Burks never uses.
So that was at 1 o'clock. We then roll on, the clock is ticking, and there's another text comes through.
Okay, we have don't spelt DNT is definitely a Christopher Burks feature. He only spells it that way, and Amanda Burks only spells it DON''T.
Tim analysed 15 more texts sent from Amanda's phone that day. He concluded that Christopher Burks probably wrote all of them. And was there a time where suddenly these started to appear in the text message?
Yes, after 12:39, there's no messages that you would attribute to Amanda Burks.
So detectives believe Burks probably killed his wife sometime before 12:39 in the afternoon. And later that night, he set fire to the house to cover his tracks. Forensic linguistics was crucial to helping police solve the case.
It's important because it shows a full picture of what actually occurred on that day. There was some sort of planning post Amanda being murdered to try and cover his tracks.
Although he initially pleaded not guilty to murder, when prosecutors put all the evidence to Burks, he changed his plea to guilty on the first day of his trial. Christopher Burks must surely have thought he'd got away with murder, but he was nailed by his own words and is now serving a minimum of 19 years in prison.
Proof that techniques like that are vital. And
Okay, let me go back to the presentation. That is one of the cases in which solved by a forensic linguistic expert. So,
welcome. This e-lecture introduces you to the central principles of forensic linguistics, that is, to the application of...
Sorry. That was an autoplay of the YouTube. Sorry. So this was a case in which being solved by forensic linguists. So suicide letters are also being used to collect data. So the data comes from the suicide letters as well. For example, the main features of suicide letters are brevity.
Sorry, Dr. Jamal, if you just a little bit raise your voice, because actually I think you lowered it with the video.
Okay, I will try. Okay, so the main features, is that good, dear professor?
Yes, very good.
Okay, so the main features of suicide letters, the brevity, the conciseness and evasiveness, and express guilt. Usually in suicide letters, these are the characteristics in which they can be you can be used to analyze. If there are these features inside the suicide letter, this means that that person committed suicide, not being murdered. So the final death row statements is also there are main features of final death row statements in which the speaker or the writer tries to look for forgiveness. Speakers want to share something crucial before being executed or being hanged, or they want to die with dignity, sometimes as a martyr or something like this. So confessions and denials by public personnel. So usually in this case, you will collect data in which explain aspects of the struggle, and then to converse honor, sometimes to conserve honor, sorry, and sometimes to say the same thing twice or 3 times. So that's why we have some interrogations are being done 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, so as to look into the discrepancies being said by a potential suspect. So terrorism cases, so the intervention of a linguist in the analysis of conversations before these went on trial, which can be helpful, of course. Audio recordings in which they analyze the 9/11 tapes being aired by Al Jazeera. So always the major evidence in the linguistic analysis of terrorism cases. So that's why terrorism and linguistics are linked somehow in some way. So interrogation also can be used as the words in the interrogation after recordings, be present in the interrogation, record the interrogation, and then analyze the questioning using linguistic means as speech acts, style, register, the tone, the implicature, the presupposition, all of these tools that can be used for collecting data. So how do we analyze these texts, or how do we analyze the data? So people reveal something who they are through the use of their linguistic choices. So that's why through their words, as the reporter said that, so the words will nail you, or your words will nail you at the end of the day. So author, speaker, or writer profiling from a subdiscipline with forensic linguistics known as forensic stylistics. So they will analyze your style, in which in the coming slides, I will be talking about forensic stylistics. So language here is like a fingerprint. So through your language, you can identify your style. Each one of us has a particular style in sociolinguistics, which is called idiolect. All of us, or all of you know that idiolect is each one of us has particular set of words are used by us. For example, when you listen to me in my lectures, when you listen to Professor Dr. Himdad in his lectures, you know that there are a set of words that are used by Professor Dr. Himdad or any one of you. So the analysis can help identify a speaker's or writer's nationality, native language, identity, social background, occupation, training, education, age, experience, so on and so forth. So the use of comparative method is also used. A case of ransomware, the kidnappers, there was a case of ransom in Australia in which kidnappers pretended to be an Asian gang using some kind of broken English. But from their language, forensic linguists knew that they are native speakers of English. So what are the linguistic markers used to identify the potential culprit by forensic linguistics? Of course, lexis, the lexical words or the words that are used, especially in their register, or the lexemes that are used by the specialists, by the suspects, and then the syntax, a particular syntax is used. Authorship markers, phrase choice, punctuation, style, voice identification, so on and so forth. So what are the challenges for of forensic stylistics? So forensic stylistics is the style that is being used by a potential culprit to do a crime. There are some styles in which he used so as to get away with the crime. So forensic texts are normally short, like text messages, ransom notes. Therefore, we do not have enough data to establish a solid argument, but we try to piece together all the styles that are being used by a potential culprit. So which linguistic features are reliable? Here this is also a main challenge to forensic linguists. How realizable are they? So can we depend on these linguistic styles or linguistic features of these suspects? So our language changed. So how can we be sure that the identity of the speaker or the author or the writer? So can we use one of these to narrow down the list of suspects? These are the challenges in which forensic linguists or forensic stylists they potentially face. So there's also a method. We have also another method to identify the potential culprit by identifying their dialect, which is through a method called linguistic dialectology. But there is a challenge due to social media and television. Dialects become more similar. Because of television, because of the media, I try to change my dialect. I try to change my linguistic background. For example, I'm from Hawlier. I speak Suli accent here. So that's why I try to, due to my familiarization, due to my mixing with the culture here, I try to change my dialect or my way of speaking. So there's also another crucial topic that's being mentioned or that's being talked about within forensic linguistics. Forensic linguistics is called voice identification, sometimes known as forensic phonetics. So it deals with the speaker profiling. Usually they have what's known as speaker profiling and author identification or author profiling. So speaker profiling narrow the field of suspects, include speaker sex, age, linguistic background, regional background, social background, individual peculiarities that are used by a particular person. So we will have a speaker and then we try to profile that speaker. We try to isolate on the basis of his speech, his sex, his age, or her age, or his linguistic background, or her linguistic background, so on and so forth. So usually forensic phonetics also deals with the speaker identification combining auditory and acoustic analysis. Because unfortunately, we don't have the auditory and acoustic analysis in Iraqi Kurdistan or in Iraq in general. But these acoustic analysis or auditory acoustic analysis, they identify the voice of that person, which provide an opinion. Of course, we will not be 100% sure, but to provide an opinion that such a voice in a conversation or telephone call of a particular person or belongs to a particular person. So forensic voice identification is designed for the experts who must be able to properly handle this type of evidence. So by deciphering what is said, identify the people who have been recorded. Usually it's used by FBI and CIA and MI5 and MI6 in the United Kingdom and the United States. It outlined practical methods for voice identification and covers the key areas of authentication of speech recordings and voice stress analysis and so on and so forth. So forensic phonetics, the goal of it is to produce accurate transactions of what's being said. Audio recordings are used to have speaker profiling and speaker identification. In the speaker profiling, we profile that speaker, as we said in the previous slides, as speaker identification to know exactly who's the speaker. We try to narrow down the list and we try to pinpoint the particular person. So this voice identification of forensic phonetics is a voice-based evidence, which is an important part of many criminal investigations in the United States and in the UK, includes such things like threat left on an answering machine, robbery, court-owned videotapes, confessions, so on and so forth. So in the technological age of mobile phones or voicemails and voice recognition software applications, and the potential voice-based evidence continues to increase, can be used to identify the potential culprit. So what are the technicalities in forensic phonetics? So decoding disputed utterances of quality, the quality of the call. Maybe there's a noise in the background, so the poor quality, which is called quality enhancement. So this is one of the technicalities that is used in forensic phonetics. So forensic phoneticians is needed for authentication by providing a linguistic evidence that is the same person from the recording in the rhythm, tempo, intonation. We say that this is the same person because the rhythm is like that, the tempo is like that, the intonation is like that. Lineup is also very important by collecting a lot of when there are several speakers. The first language of the incident is recorded. Then one by one, the witnesses are being recorded. And then these voice lineups, we will gather them and then we will analyze them one by one. So a number of voices have been recorded and then the potential suspect will be isolated through their gender, age, social background, and dialect. So this is the way that forensic phonetics is working. So these are the areas: vocal behaviors, speaker identification, then decoding. The decoding stage is beginning to appear, tape authentication and speech enhancement. And then in the operation that's being done in forensic phonetics is training, education. All of these things are so forensic phoneticians are being trained on the research development, equipment method. What are the trainings? What are the education things? The education aspects that are used to train the forensic phoneticians. So challenges of forensic phonetics: the quality of the recording, as we said, the noise that makes so hard to have an objective analysis, the authentication of the recordings, if there is any change in the recording. So authorship profiling is also another aspect within forensic linguistics. So the linguistic profiling is used to narrow down a suspect list rather than to positively identify the suspect via analyzing their lexis, the way the words that are used, or the grammar. The comparative letter is used to identify the suicide letter, for instance, by looking into peculiarities and the structure of grammar and lexis and punctuation. So the punctuation, like the D, does he use comma in this way? Does he use full stop in this case? Superfluous punctuations. Does he use, for example, a lot of punctuations? Does he misplace these punctuation marks? So these are the punctuation peculiarities or punctuation characteristics that are used by a potential author. So the most mysterious book was yet to be known who the author is. There is, up until now, we do not have knowledge that this author, this is part of author identification. I want to play this video clip to draw your attention to see this video clip about the authorship. Up until now, there is a text in which we didn't know, and people in the field of forensic analysis, they didn't know, or they don't know who's the author of that book. So let me draw your attention to watch it, please.
I hope it's the shorter one.
I will try.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that make your writing sharp.
Okay.
Sooner or later,
I will try to reshare it again. I know there is sometimes a problem to. Okay. This is.
It's okay right now.
I will play only 5 minutes of this one. Okay, dear professor.
Do you have any other slides to share, because we are running out of time?
Only 5 slides.
Oh, 5 minutes for this and 5 slides. There will be okay.
Okay.
Negotiate, bargain.
men have always tried to encode secrets. Military communication, love letters, forbidden knowledge. Sooner or later, most secret texts have been decoded. But among all of history's cryptic writings, one has stood out. This text has defied all attempts to unveil its secret for centuries. The Voynich manuscript. It's the world's most mysterious book, written by an unknown author in an absolutely singular alphabet and illustrated with puzzling images. What is the secret hidden between these lines? Yet another expert has taken on the challenge. For the first time, the physical materials of the Voynich manuscript will be analyzed. Maybe ink, pigments, and parchment will offer a key to the Voynich enigma. At the headquarters of the U.S. Military Intelligence Service, these experts succeeded in decoding Japan's so-called Purple Code. William Friedrich Friedman, the service's director, was one of the world's best cryptographs. For practice between jobs, Friedman and his team decoded historical cryptic texts. One by one, the codes were cracked. But one ancient text stubbornly defied all attempts to decode it. The Voynich manuscript. Unnerved, the cryptographs gave up. It's the only code they were unable to crack. Questions about the roughly 200-page manuscript with its inexplicable symbols had already been raised for decades. At the beginning of the 20th century, an antiques dealer from New York visited Villa Mondragone near Rome. He was looking for precious books. The name of the American dealer was Wilfrid Voynich. In Villa Mondragone, many historical texts from a Jesuit school were stored.
One of the trunks Wilfried Voynich was allowed to inspect came from the estate of one of the most famous learned men of the 17th century, Athanasius Kircher. Among various manuscripts, the trunk contained an unusual book. Voynich bought the manuscript and tried to decipher it for the rest of his life.
So this is the documentary. So I will share the link if you are interested in it.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
One of the mysterious books up until now. This is also being dealt with within forensic linguistics by identifying the author of a particular book. So there are many movies and series related to forensic linguistics. You can watch it. For example, there is a series called Robert Galbraith's The Cuckoo Calling, which turned out to be J.K. Rowling, the famous author of Harry Potter. There's also a series called Criminal Minds. This is also a series dealing with forensic linguistics. So what are the problems of facing forensic linguists? So Nordquist outlined 8 problems facing forensic linguists, and an audience almost totally unfamiliar with the field. For example, if in a court if in Iraqi court or in Kurdistan court, if you say that I'm a forensic linguist, I will try to analyze the data or the linguistic data or the language data of the suspects, they will just mock you. They don't let you. So restrictions on what we say, what we can say, and what we when we can say that, restrictions on what we can write, restrictions. So there are many problems that are faced by linguists that I have outlined in 8 problems. So since forensic linguistics deals with probabilities, not certainties, it's essential to refine the field of study. Further, experts say that there have been cases where it was my impression that the evidence on which people were freed or convicted was iffy in one way or another. So Edward Finnegan, as one of the leading linguists, who is now the president of International Association of Forensic Linguistics, forensic linguists, said that there have been cases in which it was my impression to say that that person did this. So Van der Waal Law Professor Edward Chang, an expert on the reliability of forensic evidence, says that linguistic analysis is best used when only a handful of people could have written a given text. So of course, he tries to uncover the writing of the Robert Galbraith as the pseudonym for J.K. Rowling. So these are the topics for our researchers, if you are interested in. I have refined some of them. For example, a study of psychocorrection discourse in community correction and restorative justice from the perspective of individuation in Iraqi Kurdish contexts, power and resistance in interrogations of suspects in Iraqi Kurdistan judicial process, style variability in disfluency analysis for forensic speakers, comparison in Iraqi Kurdish criminal system. So these are some of the topics that the forensic linguists are interested in: authorship profiling, voice identification, and to my knowledge, none in Kurdistan and Iraqi Kurdistan. In Iraq in whole approached the forensic linguistics because of restrictions in the departments. So there is an organization called IFL, which is the International Association for Forensic and Legal Linguistics, in which their main goal is to disseminate knowledge about language analysis and forensic application among legal and related professionals working in the area around the globe, drawing up the code of practice on matters such as giving evidence in courts, writing official reports, verify evidence or verify against someone or verify the evidence against someone or something, collecting computer corpus of statements, confessions, cross-examinations. Even they have a journal called IAFL journal. So, and this journal is also has an impact factor. So if you are interested in it, so this is, they have a very well-known journal. So if you are interested in it. So the summary, so forensic linguistics is the application of linguistic techniques to investigate crime in which language data plays an important role. So using linguistic stylistic analysis to find a potential culprit. Phonetics or forensic phonetics provides us with a method to investigate speech data, speaker profiling, and improve them for further examinations. The analysis of grammatical, lexical, orthographical features can provide us with essential clues of authorship profiling, written text, speaker profiling. It's, above all, it is a new topic for researchers to write about. And this is the list
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamal.
Of references, if you are interested in it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamal, for this interesting presentation and introduction about forensic linguistics for me and the audience. It was really useful, and there are some potential for collaborative work among disciplines. And you know, one of the trends nowadays in the world is interdisciplinary work, and forensic linguistics is a very good example for merging and mixing more than two or more than one discipline in a research. What makes me happy also is the variety of the audience today. You know, we had people from different universities, different institutions, different countries also. We had people from University of The Hague, thank you very much, like Dr. Muhammad Barwari, Dr. Lolav, Dr. Asma, and many others, from University of Suleymania, from University of Salahuddin, from University of Soran, from Hawler Medical University, from Erbil Polytechnic University, from Technical Institute in Bakrajo, from Kurdistan Institution for Strategic Studies, and also Dr. Jessica Ash from Miami University, Ohio, in the United States of America. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us. And we had also different people from Department of English, Department of Kurdish, Department of Translation, Department of Law, and Department of Administration Law or Administrative Law in the institutes. And also we had not only university teachers, but also interpreters with us. So that's a very good mix actually for this interesting topic. One point, Dr. Jamal, you said we don't have emergency calls in Kurdistan. I think nowadays we have it actually. The Asaish have it, the police have that, the ambulance, and even violence against women, they have what is called hotlines, but we don't know whether this has been recorded or not, this has been archived or not actually. But this would be a very good area of research because I'm sure very little has been done in this area. So thank you very much for this. Now we take questions from those who raise their hand and from those who want to just write their questions actually. Two questions before until people raise their hand. One of them is from Mamusta Kovan, I think. Yes, from University of Soran. He said, we have different departments in departments of languages, for example, Kurdish, English, Arabic languages. In case of crimes in Kurdistan, who takes care of such stuff? I mean, who does all the interrogations and the analysis? And he says, we even don't have a criminal justice department. Dr. Jamal, this is one of the questions. Mamusta Kovan, I think recently Erbil Polytechnic University has opened a department called criminal justice or investigations, actually, specifically for investigations. So I don't remember the name, but I'm sure that they have done it. And Dr. Ismail is with us from Erbil Polytechnic University. Maybe he can verify that. This is one of the questions, Dr. Jamal. Okay. The other question is from Mamusta Awan Kamal from the chat box. She says, is there any coordination between military sub-branches and forensic linguists? Is there any step towards such cooperation? Dr. Jamal, if
thank you so much.
Questions, then we can take.
Thank you so much, dear Professor. We did have, they did have it, but I don't know we have it in our region or not. But FBI, CIA, so they coordinate in these matters. FBI has a very there is a branch within FBI. It's called linguistic analysis. So even they recruit linguists, forensic linguists, applied linguists. They recruit them, and they will analyze many codes or many languages have been said by potential criminals or potential terrorists or some of the things. But in Iraqi Kurdistan, I don't know. To my knowledge, I don't think we have it. But in all countries, they do have. There is a close coordination or a close relationship between linguists and military experts, because sometimes they are summoned by linguists, or they summon linguists. They summon linguists to provide evidence, to analyze a code. It's more, there is an interface between forensic linguistics and cryptography. So they are somehow go hand in hand in correlation. So that's why we can say that they have it, but in our region, I don't think we have a linguistic expert in the area, that to analyze the language of particular recordings. Regarding the emergency calls, even the emergency calls, we do have emergency calls, but who are to analyze these emergency calls? They are non-experts. They are non-experts in language. They don't know, they didn't have any knowledge about how to identify a potential culprit, or whether that's a hoax call, or that's the witness, or that's the potential culprit in the case of Christopher Berker. You saw the documentary.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Karwan Jum'a Rahim says, I have a question. I read, I'm not responsible for the mistake in grammar if there is. Did forensic linguistics describe sign language? I mean, is it related? Is it included, Dr. Jamal?
Yep. Definitely. Forensic linguists try to employ all the language means, all the linguistic aspects, because sometimes within the court of law, it's called speaker profiling. When they try to, in their courts, even linguists are present in their courts or in their trials. So they will try to summon the linguists so as to identify the potential sign language, or the signs that are used by the culprit or the suspect, whether he committed the crime or not.
Another question, I think it was from Mamusta Asma Khoshmir from Salahuddin University. She said, so it is kind of near from what critical discourse analysis does.
Definitely. All of these aspects, for example, in critical discourse analysis, mainly used to analyze political texts led by Van Dyck. But this is trying to identify and isolate and try to narrow down the list of suspects by using their language. So sometimes your words will judge you. Your words will be turned against you. So that's why sometimes the culprits, if the person has done the crime, a crime for the first time, we know it because there are many potential clues so as to identify, isolate that particular person doing this, or whether he or she did this or not.
Yeah. We had a question from Mr. Hussein Ibrahim, I think, from the Facebook. He was with us. He says, can we say that forensic language or linguistics is the language that carries the least possible interpretation, explanation, and even analysis?
There is interpretation, there is analysis, because sometimes a linguist will analyze it, will say that these are the evidence, these are the language evidence that I will present it. So this is interpretation. So the language expert will interpret the writing, interpret the speech based on the circumstantial evidence that's being there in a particular case. So that's why the forensic linguist sometimes being asked by their opinion, what do you think that this is the potential suspect, or do you think that this is the potential culprit? Sometimes they are being summoned so as to give them their opinions, apart from providing clear-cut evidence or clear-cut linguistic evidence of it. They try to give their opinion. So this is the interpretations. This is the interpretation of the language, or the interpretation of, or the conclusions that he has or she has reached during the trial, or before the trial, or of the whole proceeding. That's why the legal language, when someone is aware of the legal language, they know that there are some hidden meanings inside some of the phrases or some of the expressions. The example of potential, the Asian gang that they demanded several $1 million in Australia. So they purportedly say that they were Asian gangs, but at the end of when the forensic linguist is summoned, he analyzed the linguistic means or linguistic uses. He found out that these were actually Australians rather than the Asian gangs.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Jamal. We have two other questions actually. One of them is a comment by Mustasoma Nauzad. She says, in KRG, there is a branch of military force that analyzes the evidences of the crime. And these evidences include also texts. And I also know that there is a special lab called Forensic Lab. So where they analyze maybe evidences, including texts and language. There is another question. This was just a comment. Another thing from Mr. Lauko Yassin. He says, do we have the international room for that purpose in Kurdistan, according to your knowledge, Dr. Jamal?
I think if we try to embark this journey, if we try to do a research about it, potentially we may be opening a branch of forensic linguistic or forensic linguist association. Why not? So there is IFL. So you pay an annual fee to be a member of that organization. So why not embarking a new journey on that, so as to do or to lobby the government so as to recruit forensic linguists or the linguistic experts so as to analyze language or analyze linguistic data that has been used by criminals, by terrorists, by many parties that are involved in a crime or in a potential crime. The problem is that in our region we do have branches of forensic analysis, but the problem is that there are no experts working in these areas. This is the problem. So we should recruit experts in these cases or in these institutions, rather than just having it run by a particular person, the relative of that official or the relative of this official.
Good, thank you very much. I think the questions are done to me. I don't know if there is anyone else who wants to say something or a question. If not, we will end the session. Seems there is no one else. So thank you again, Dr. Jamal Anwar Taha from University of Suleimania for being with us tonight actually, to introduce that very interesting field of study called forensic linguistics, which is relatively new in the region and the country. And we hope that there will be some investigations, then some joint research also from people, between people from different organizations, different institutions, and different disciplines, because as we said, that's the trend around the world. That's people work as teams. They come from different backgrounds, from different angles, and then they study an issue actually. Thank you very much for the audience for being with us till now. Thank you for the staff of Megamind Plus Academy, especially Mr. Shamal, Ms. Firmesk, and Pshtiwan for all their hard work for organizing the posters, the forms, and then now the session, and later on they will be working on the certificates and on the links of for the recording and for the slides. Some people asked if we can share the slides with them. Dr. Jamal, I said yes. I don't know whether my yes is true or not. So if you send the final draft to us, we will share with all the audience through the groups the recording and the slides, so that they will have it at hand, or they can share it also with their colleagues. I think we have one hand raised, Nafal. I don't know, it's written Nafal. Do you want to talk? Now the hand is gone. I don't know who else.
Darin.
Darin.
Yes.
Do you want to talk? Okay, we have a couple of minutes. Go ahead, please. Darin. Darin, if you want to talk, open your mic.
How much you unmute yourself?
If not, Dr. Haider. Dr. Haider, you can open your mic. I'm asking you to unmute. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Hello, Dr. Imdad. Hello, Dr. Jamal. Thank you very much for this nice presentation and topic. My question is about, is there, let's say, any research or conducted in Kurdish language about forensic linguistics, or let's say any, let's say, real research, or for example, a research that conducted data from our courts in Kurdistan, in Kurdish language, not in English language.
Okay, thank you. The question is clear. To the best of your knowledge, Dr. Jamal.
To the best of my knowledge, no one has done any research due to my research in the field. This topic and clinical linguistics is also very new to us. No one has done anything about these two topics, forensic linguistics and clinical linguistics. To my knowledge, even in Kurdish language, I haven't seen any research, because I have researched a lot on the internet and in many avenues, but I personally, I haven't found any.
Good. Thank you very much, Dr. Haider.
Thank you.
I think, Dr. Jamal, with this, we are going to end the session. Thank you very much for all from different institutions, different places being with us. And it has been a pleasure to be listening to you, Dr. Jamal, also again.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure there will be much more.
It's my pleasure also to work with you, and we were your students in MA program with Dr. Salah and many others, and we still consider ourselves as your
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and bringing together all the scholars from different universities to have this platform to talk about academic research or academic topics and many other aspects.
Thank you very much. And an offer for all the audience who are with us. If you think you can offer a presentation, a webinar, please contact us in private so that we coordinate it, because I see many good people with us today actually, and from different fields. So we want to take benefit from all the expertise, and also it would be a very good chance for you to show what you have already achieved and what you are up to in research, in study, or in method of teaching, whatever topic that we are, you think that you can do something good or present and share your expertise with others. Thank you very much. And with this, please take care of yourselves and your families, and have a good evening, have a good night, have a good New Year to you and your loved ones. Thank you very much. And we are done with it. Thank you.